Hello everybody, welcome to my new series, District Denizens, where I take your characters, that's right, your characters, you watching right now, I'm taking your character. They're mine now. I'm going to put them in my cauldron, my iconic cauldron, for my soup. But yes, I am redesigning your submitted characters that I asked for and redesigning them to fit within the world of my comic, Where the Humans Go. Speaking of which, if you would like to read my comic to gain some extra context for any of the design decisions I make, you can click the link in the description to read it online completely for free. That's right. I just give that to you guys for free. But I do have a Patreon. If you want to, throw some money my way. Some cool rewards for it, like early access to literally everything I make. Well, that's a lie. That's not literally. But if you want to be a bad person and decide not to check out my comic, here's a little synopsis of the general world of Where the Humans Go and what we're working with. So Where the Humans Go is a graphic novel that takes place in an unforgiving dystopian world set far in the future where there is constant conflict between humans and monster-human hybrids known as Chimera, who require human meat for survival. The story follows a group of Chimera trying to survive in a broken America, where humanity has confined themselves into walled metropolitan districts to shield themselves from the harsh badlands where violence and lawlessness thrives. Oh, yeah. There you go. Still don't want to read it? That didn't do it for you? That's cool. Before we actually get into this video, I also want to say a big thank you to everyone who submitted characters. I sent out the request for characters on Instagram, Twitter, and that one, and got over 200 submissions, so I have a lot of amazing stuff to work with. But without further ado, let's get to what you all came here for. Thanks again, guys.
Oh, motherfucker.
So, why don't we get into the first character of District Denizens, Maggot the Magnificent, submitted by, I probably should have wrote that down. I'll put it up on screen. That's fine. And the mad magic, the power of, it doesn't fucking matter. Margaret grew up into a rich family raised by a single father, who ran a mining company that initially made large funds by going into dangerous parts of the Badlands to mine for precious metals. They grew up in the high-class District 3 of the United Districts of America, though her father was getting older and his production and income was slowing. The CEO of a rival company, Gollum Metals, and head of the Jin family, attempted to buy out Margaret's father's contracts and business off of him for a hefty price, but he denied this multiple times. So Jin tried to undercut his production by secretly outsourcing others to disrupt his mining company, whether it was through lawsuits with fabricated evidence or paying Badlands raiders to attack his operations. All of this finally convinced other companies to back out of their contracts with their father, effectively taking his entire business away and allowing Jin to step in. When Margaret's father tried to expose the scandal, he was quickly and quietly taken out by Jin, using an insider he paid out to betray Margaret's father. Knowing exactly who was behind it, Margaret attempted to expose the scandal again, but was caught, ruthlessly beaten, and kidnapped, Jin calling her a worthless maggot. I know it's not like the best, but I'm a busy man. I got shit to do. F off. As she was then sent to a lower class district under the fake story that she ran away. Consumed by revenge, she spent years training, cybernetically modifying her body, and working in the criminal underworld, eventually becoming a notable and feared mercenary. Her personality ever changed due to the combined trauma of losing her father and starting a new life in the criminal underworld, but never losing sight of her revenge, as she uses her skills and connections to take out each member of the Jin Enterprise one by one. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. Yeah, you thought I was just drawing shit? We can just, pass it. I don't know why I do that, man. I get nervous sometimes when talking. You'll notice on the podcast that I'm pretty normal, but when it comes to these kind of more solo scripted style videos, even though this is all off the cuff. I kind of without having another human being to bounce off of, I struggle a little bit. So I hope you'll all bear with me on this. But let's get right into it. So one of the first things that I have to consider is the fact that these are two wildly different settings I'm working with here. From the references I was sent, it seems like that Maggot lives in a very fantasy medieval setting, while my story takes place in a sci-fi dystopian slash fantasy setting. So I have to consider exactly what she would look like, and that's why in her backstory, seeing as how she clearly isn't afraid to fight, she is a merc. Using those connections she's built to get revenge on the people who have wronged her. So I could definitely see her using a bunch of military grade gear off the black market in tandem with her insane cybernetics that she would have implanted in herself for maximum efficiency. I'd say let's start off with the head here. Let's start off with her most iconic piece that she wears, and that would have to be, that's an eraser, you fucking idiot, her mask. She's got this very jester-esque mask, but to give it some practicality, we'll say that in this scenario, it is actually a bulletproof mask that she sort of customized to have that creepy grin on it, just to fuck with her victims, especially those within the Jin family who she's pretty much doing all of this to get to. And of course, we can't forget her iconic little mark there that she's got. I imagine she's not exactly the most surgical type of mercenary, so obviously we're going to want it to have a little battle damage, some cuts, grazes. I could imagine she got shot in the head at one point, give it the whole, cool little Boba Fett dent on the head. There we go. There's the mask part. Of course, we can't forget her iconic fucked up face smile thing that she's got going on. Oh yeah. Yeah. See, that's freaky. I don't like that. I wouldn't want to see that ever, anywhere, any context. It doesn't even matter. Fucking weirdo. Who the fuck would make her look like that? So, as it's pretty obvious in the references that was sent to me, she's not completely utilitarian. She has an alternate outfit besides her really cool armored leathered up one, where she has this jester outfit that shows a lot of skin, not very practical. So we're gonna keep some of that spirit alive, even though I prefer the leather look of the character, and we're gonna give her some of that awesome armor that we want her to wear. For those of you who've read the comic, you'll recognize this little this chest rig that she's wearing. This is a Special Forces rig used by the IAB of the United Districts of America. Now that I'm looking at it again, her neck is it's a little stubby there. We can just a little bit. There we go. Get some pouches in there.
Who the hell's messaging me? Fuck off!
Yeah, look at her go. Look at her go. Alright, there's her sort of little chest rig design there. You'll notice there aren't a lot of ammo pouches, as not as many as you would think for a merc to run around with, but there's a reason for that, and I'll get into it once we get into her loadout.
Oh, motherfucker! Shit.
Get those cybernetic looking bits and bobs in there. So, as you can see, getting all those cybernetic looking muscly parts in there. I would imagine that most of her real skin has basically just been removed and replaced with a synthetic outer layer that acts as sort of a armor that's attached to her body, which is one of the reasons why she's not afraid to show her arms, but also it gives her essentially superhuman strength to be able to rip her enemies to shreds and crush them with a certain weapon that you've seen already in the references I've shown thus far. So one of the aspects of my story that will sort of be delved into later down the line, but it's not the focal point of Volume 1, is the nature of cybernetics and upgrading the human body. So there's only so many things you can do to your body before it really starts taking a toll on your mental health. And we see this in a lot of media delving into dystopian futuristic societies. One of the biggest inspirations for me was Cyberpunk 2077. The nature of cyberpsychosis is just such a cool concept that you continually upgrade your body to the point where your mind just can't take it anymore. You start hallucinating, you start seeing things, and eventually you just go completely insane and become a danger to yourself and others. And that concept is something I've borrowed from a little bit, is something I've kind of borrowed in my story, where the constant upgrades of the human body can have untold effects on the mind. And one of the biggest contributing factors to this character's sort of mental downfall is how hard she went on upgrading herself without properly preparing her mind for it. She essentially, the moment she got enough money to do it, she'd do it. She wouldn't go through any of the proper steps, any of the safety tips that you would need to do beforehand. She just went straight into it, into upgrading herself, because she has been completely consumed. She hasn't gone completely insane or lost herself, but you can clearly tell if you were to have a conversation with her that something ain't right up there. And part of that is definitely due to the trauma she faced as a kid and everything she dealt with her father, but a lot of it is due to the fact that she has been so focused on becoming an efficient killer that it's just robbed her of most of a sane and sound mind. Get your pants. You need pants. You can't just go walking around with no pants. Even though you do in your character, but not mine. No, sir. It's not happening. No. Let's get into her pants. So for her pants, they don't need to be anything crazy. It's not like her specialty is legs. So seeing as how she's obviously meant to be a sort of close quarters tanky character, let's give her some leg armor. Some of that nice. Yeah. Now, I haven't really been using any reference for this stuff besides the character itself. And that's because I've sort of already done a lot of military designs on my own and for the comic. And I'm basically kind of just, in a sense, reusing assets that I've already designed for other characters and factions within the story. Which kind of makes sense anyway. She's a merc. She doesn't like officially work for any sort of government body or military in any capacity. So a lot of this stuff she would just be buying off the black market, used military gear or stolen military gear, that sort of stuff. But if you are designing a character like this for the first time, definitely, without a doubt, I'm sure you've heard it a million times, find reference. References are the key to success as an artist, I think. I don't think you're really gonna need to do much more to improve as an artist except study your references, get good at studying those references, and use them to your advantage any chance you can get. So now that I'm looking at it again, the baggy pants are a little distracting in terms of the rest of the character, because the top of her character is kind of like, in a sense, tight, because she's not wearing any sleeved shirt, and it shows off the muscles of the arms under the bulky armor. I think I want to kind of recreate that on the leg parts. So we'll say she's wearing sort of like a tighter suit under the armor. And I think story-wise, it can make perfect sense for her character, as she would want to at least have some dexterity and maneuverability under all of this big heavy armor. So I think story-wise it makes sense, and design-wise, just visually, it's much more appealing to look at. Yeah, that already just looks better. Yeah, that already looks a lot better. That's much better. I like that. Highlights her form more, matches sort of the upper design schemes of her torso. And I think there's a lesson in this. It's called redrafting. Some of you motherfuckers really need to learn how to redraft. Especially scripts. Good God. Like, good God. Some of you video essayists, y'all just drone on and on about, like, the most useless shit in the middle of your videos. Kind of like how I'm doing right now. Seriously, though. Redraft your scripts. It's very important. Please. Please redraft your scripts. She wears Velcro because she doesn't know how to tie shoes. That's canon, by the way. Motherfucker. Seeing as how in my story she's probably working mostly within districts and urban environments, there's really no need for her to have like heavy set, you know, steel toe crazy boots. I think she'll be just fine with this stuff. So the original design on her leather armor, it has spikes on it. And honestly, I thought that was a cool aspect that I don't really want to lose in this version of the characters. So we'll say that she, on top of her cybernetics, she added some spikes onto her shoulder plates here. And honestly, that's pretty dangerous. It would be pretty hard to grab her by the shoulders, the elbow. You would be pretty scared to get your hands on her if she had these on. If she were to shoulder check you, punch you, elbow you, not only are you dealing with the blunt force trauma of this big bitch, you'd also be getting punctured. So it has some practical use if you think about it. Here she is in her armor, and she's almost ready, almost to start fucking people up. She's missing a couple things. One, her very, very iconic weapon she likes to carry around, a big mallet. So we'll keep the same idea of the hammer alive. An interesting aspect of my story is that Chimera, though very much scrutinized and not appreciated among pretty much all of human society, humans still want to find a way to use Chimera to whatever way they can. And one of those aspects is their bodies. So Chimera just have a natural born strength over humans. Almost every aspect of a Chimera, physically speaking, is superior to humans. Their strength, agility, reaction time, their bone density. So she actually has a hammer made out of the bones of a Hellspawn Chimera. So the interesting thing about Hellspawn is that they don't have to be the size of a person. They can grow very large or even very small, as we've seen with Thor, because they don't really have to adhere to human biology as much as regular Chimera. It helps her gain status, and it doubles as a pretty sick weapon. If you're wondering what part of the body this was taken of, I don't know. I didn't think about that part. While the hammer is very cool and she is very proficient with it, my story takes place in a setting where 90% of the enemies she's going up against have guns that shoot bullets. So she needs a gun of her own. She carries around a shotgun. Yippee! That was fucking stupid. But anyway, she's going to be using a shotgun, and a very large shotgun at that. I'm sort of basing the design of this shotgun off of the Russian KS-23, which is it's a 4-gauge shotgun. That's gonna do like 10 times more damage than you really need it to against a human target, but Maggot doesn't really care about that because she's already so strong that she doesn't need to really worry about the practicality of carrying around a shotgun of this caliber. And there we go. There's the line work. I'm not really going to get into the design schemes for the colors. The only thing I'll say is that she works in urban environments. So I'm going to make sure her armor is urban colored. Oh, fuck. Those stars, yay. No, we're not doing that. There we go. First character done and dusted. Thank you to user Agent Hot Dog Kid, aka Hot Dog. Thank you for your character. She was a blast to work on. I really enjoy how she turned out. I enjoy her original design a lot, which is why she kind of became my first choice to start with. She kind of stood out immediately to me as being one I wanted to work on. And there's a lot of those that I got, but yeah, went with this one. Started off with something darker, something cool, something real freaky looking, which is on brand for me. I really like her, and she's mine now. So there's nothing you can do about it. Just let it happen. Just let go. Just let go. Let go, man. Give it to me, man. But yeah, thanks for the character, and let's move on finally to character number 2. Character number 2. Debani. I'm gonna go with Debani. Thank you to Axolotl with a Pen for submitting this character. So, from the references that were sent to me, Debani is small, wants to quote-unquote take over the world, but seems to be sort of secretly too sweet, too kind to actually go around hurting people or taking over the world. She's also very mouthy and can make fireballs. Without further ado, why don't we just get right into the backstory that I created for Debani in Where the Humans Go. Debani is a small young chimera who lives out in the Badlands within a small community that is run by the Madonna of the Badlands, an old and powerful hellspawn chimera who essentially runs an orphanage for both human and chimera children and is head of the community. Before Debani became part of this community, she was originally born within another group that consisted of raiders that lived out in an abandoned military outpost far up north within UDA territory, where she was raised by the head of that group. The culture of most raiders is survival of the fittest. Lie, steal, kill, whatever it takes to win. Her chimera abilities came in handy in the harsh north. She can secrete a flammable wax from her body that she can then ignite by creating sparks with hardened pieces of her body. Due to the harsh culture of the raider camp, Debani adopted, quote-unquote, a very hyperbolized, childish personality that replicated their ruthless behavior, but unlike the raiders, she could never amount to their very real cruelty. So to cope with the things she had seen, heard, and grew up in, she calls herself Debani the Destroyer. Along with her useful abilities, the raiders also just keep her around because she simply amuses everyone with her evil personality, claiming to one day become a raider queen and take over the world. But it's plainly obvious that she doesn't have that within her. During a brutal winter, scouts of the raider group spotted an IAB convoy getting caught in a blizzard. But due to that same blizzard, they were forced to bring Debani along to be able to provide more fire and warmth. As they surrounded this convoy, they began their attack, though almost immediately the raiders began suffering way more casualties than they would have thought. And this was due to the fact that this convoy was accompanied by a black operations unit known as the Scorched, a lethal group of convicted criminals turned soldiers for the IAB, consisting of both a mix of humans and chimera. Within minutes, the raiders are killed, leaving Debani. Thankfully, the leader of the Scorched is quite compassionate and instead of turning her in, takes her to the Madonna. Debani has remained ever conflicted, both holding a deep hatred for the IAB and the Scorched, but also understanding how many people's lives the raiders have also destroyed in their wake, and resigns herself to her Debani the Destroyer personality, but still secretly appreciates her new friends she made within the community, despite her being quote-unquote evil. So yeah, so that story is also a little tragic. I promise not all characters that I'll be doing in this series will have like crazy tragic backgrounds. It's just that that's kind of what the setting of my story consists of, and just the existence of being a chimera within my comic kind of, is a tragedy within itself. With all that out of the way, let's get into the character here. So another aspect of her powers that I thought were interesting is that she doesn't need to do a whole lot of movement to create sparks to ignite a flame. In fact, the scales can sort of shift and move on their own, sort of like, tectonic plates under the earth. They're science shit. That wasn't funny. Look at me, changing my mind yet again. Classic Curly. Call me crazy, but in my version of the story, she lives in a desert, so feel like having some, like, I don't know, either ripped sleeves or a sleeveless jacket. Big old ball of wax. And she's gonna fucking peg at some barrel that she's pretending is her enemy. Or maybe a child. I feel like she would wear... So the reference that I was sent is the one picture, but I feel like she would wear like really big pants. Everything about her is just like large in a sense. Like she wears big clothes, she got big hair, she's got a very bombastic sort of ability. Imagine she would have a big belt too. Just everything's a little oversized for her. Big old pantaloons. Let's see where we're going with that. Yeah, I like that. Now, instead of it being just like suspenders or something, they can be like a cool piece of like old military gear she found lying around. All right, and there's the line art for this. Just a couple more doodads here and there to work out. Yeah, we're on our way with Daryl here. So another little aspect I'm gonna change is her skin tone to be a little more tan, because once again she lives in a desert. So let's just her teeth get all scaly too, so she can make sparks. Yeah, I know. You don't gotta say it. It's pretty fucking cool. I know. Thank you, thank you, thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. I know. I'm not like, stop it. I'm not like a genius or anything like that. Come on. Let's all calm down here. I'm just a person like anyone else, just a normal, everyday person who's better than you at art. All right, that's it. That's it. That's all. That's all. You know, not like a, yeah, I'm not, I drew that on the wrong layer. Fuck. Oh, that's why I thought it was a little bit difficult to kind of see stuff. My brightness was a little lower than it should have been. Oh, that's better. Fuck, that's bright now. Oh, there we go. Got my glasses on, my screeners, blue light blocking screeners. Everyone, anyone who sits in front of a computer or tablet for a long time, like I do, definitely get yourself some screeners. I've also recently upgraded to a standing desk as well. I was lucky enough to get one for free, so changed my life. Love my standing desk. Highly recommend to anyone who sits down in front of a computer all day. Get some screeners, get a standing desk, and also stretch. Make sure you're stretching. Stretching's very important, guys. Can't stretch it enough. Are you able to put a belt buckle on? Probably not. But if you jerry rig it, it's probably not that hard, tie some string around the back of it, or straight up just like, bobby pin it in. Don't think about it. All right, don't think about it. You're having fun, right? Don't think about it. I kind of like this sort of hodgepodge of colors we've got on her. Pink hair, red scales, tan skin, more muted brown undershirt with the white fur and blue jacket. You're just listing things now. I like that. I kind of like this. Because the pants are already so baggy and big, and they would kind of, they make up a lot of the character's silhouette. I don't want it to be too bright of a color, because I don't want that to draw too much attention away from her face and her scales and everything. Okay. Are we ready to merge all these now? All of her? I think we are. I think we're at the merging. Wait! That's right. There's flesh under the horns, too. Yeah, think about that for a second. Mm-hmm. Disgusting! Oh, shit. What I like about doing this sort of method, especially with the round, your standard opacity round brush, is that, like, you really, if you like, sort of like, for example, if I cut away too much, I can just re-add it and then recut. No problemo. It's what makes this, the rounding brush, the most versatile brush of all time. You know, you can't go wrong with Old Reliable. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever really gone over this before with anyone, but one thing I like to do to add panache to like any drawing to like really tie it all together is I duplicate the line work layer, as you can see right here, put it down to like 50% or 30 depending on the size usually of the canvas. I blur it to about 3 to 4%, and then I use a gradient map on Procreate to change the color profile of it. If you, I don't know, I don't think all apps have like a gradient map feature. So you can just change the color saturation settings of it to get a color that you like. And yeah, you can see here, it just kind of ties it all together, you know, it just adds a nice little final thing on top of it. And there we go. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I think we're a good stopping point for this character. I don't even know why I did that. That's dumb. And there she is. Really fun character. Really cute little monster girl going around throwing napalm at innocent creatures. I'm just kidding. She doesn't throw napalm at innocent creatures. Okay? Just Minecraft YouTubers. Thank you to Axolotl with a Pen for submitting this character. She was a ton of fun to design. Honestly, I had a little more trouble with this one than I did with the first one. Probably because the first one, doing militaristic, sort of edgy character designs is something I do a lot. Whereas designing characters like this, child characters, where they're not exactly, they're not super serious, they're more lighthearted, they're a little tougher for me sometimes. So it was a lot of fun making this character, and I'm overall really happy with how it turned out. Now let's go on to the next character, shall we? Originally, this video was going to have 5 character designs, but I clearly underestimated how much time and effort I would actually have to put into designing these, because I don't want to not do the characters justice. I want to take my time and make sure the character designs look good, and not only look good, but fit in where the humans go. So this video will have 3, probably going to be the MO moving forward, unless things change. Don't you worry your little heads about that. I'm not abandoning them. I'm going to be continuing to move forward with this series. Regardless, enough of that. Let's get into Dath. Dath is a wandering hellspawn believed to be over 10,000 years old by the by the International Affairs Bureau. Hellspawn are the most feared and dangerous type of chimera, despite being somewhat rare, and their origins are unknown, unlike other biological chimera classifications. Their physical forms and abilities are extremely diverse, but all in their own ways still incredibly deadly. All of them have the combination of very tough bodies, fast regeneration, and incredible physical prowess, though their disadvantages is that of concealment and reproduction. Chimera that are born of 2 parents, human or otherwise, both have the ability to conceal their chimera forms, as seen in the comic itself, and also have children. Both of these factors that Hellspawn chimera lack is what contributes to their low population. Thousands of years ago, Dath was accepted and worshipped as some sort of deity by an ancient civilization. They would feed him dead humans, whether it was their own or the bodies of enemy tribes. Through generations, he became less of a thing of worship and more part of the civilization as an equal. It was the first time he experienced community and friendship in his life, and began to purposely not consume any human meat. Are you shitting me? What is so important that I need to get a message right now? Oh, it was Balapa. Fuck you, Balapa. And began to purposely not consume any human meat, even those of the dead. It was incredibly difficult at first, and to keep his friends safe, he isolated himself for months by stuffing himself into a cave and covering the entrance to overcome the bellowing hunger. In order to help him, his friends and fellow tribe members would speak to him through the rocks, to encourage him or just casually speak about their days. The hunger never went away, but he managed to hold on to his sanity and sense of self, preventing himself from going feral. Though one day he could hear the distant sounds of chaos, and becoming worried, he left from the cave, only to find the tribe had been completely destroyed by the combined force of other tribes due to Dath not being present. In a rage, Dath lets loose and annihilates the attacking tribes. Thousands of years later, Dath now aimlessly wanders the Badlands of the UDA, keeping to his vow to not consume human meat, but will sometimes assist those traveling through the desert. A power he scarcely uses only in self-defense or to defend others. He can manipulate the bones of other people, being able to shift them into whatever way he wants, typically to create a weapon. Let my Apple Pencil charge while I talk here. So yeah, here's the rough layout sketch of Dath. Decided to have a little more fun with this one, something to go a little different. The reference I was sent, he is just a literal walking skeleton. And you could see in the drawing, I started by just kind of doing a tall, emaciated, skeletal looking guy. But I figured if he's going to be a Hellspawn Chimera, which are supposed to be extremely diverse, extremely powerful, and fear-inducing monsters, I should lean into that. One aspect of that is if his power, as I've described, is going to be grabbing people, grabbing their literal bones, and then, sort of absorbing them and shifting them into weapons and such, then why not have sort of a body that helps him with that even more? So he has these 4 little crawly legs in addition to his long, lanky arms, and at the ends of those legs are hands. Why don't we get into the refining stage here? I decided to just keep. He can have his lips. He can have his. So he's kissable as well. Why the fuck do you say things like that, you fucking dipshit? So as you can see, his arms have sort of like a exoskeleton, kind of covers up the length of them in order to protect them, because they are kind of spindly. They're not exactly super buff and strong, so kind of need that extra protection. Yeah. Oh yeah. This guy's looking Ricky. And there's our very, very rough... Oh wait, fuck! He's supposed to have 4 legs! Shit! I'll be right back. There he is. All gross and proper looking. Okay, here's the line work. Yeah, I think for this one, I didn't have as much, sort of commentary for how I was going about it, just because this one was a little more impromptu than the others. The others, I kind of went in with a pretty decent understanding of how I was going to design it. The thing with these types of characters, Hellspawn in the stories, that they can look so varied and unique that a lot of the times I sort of just kind of just go for it without a ton of pre-planning. And then after I do that, it's just I do a lot of refining afterwards. I don't know if that's like some sort of sin in the character design world. I know for me that typically works for my characters. I usually go in basically with like a vague understanding how I want them to look, and then from there I'll do a lot of refining after the fact. After I get like just a rough idea of what they're supposed to look like. And yeah, that's sort of my process for a lot of characters, which I know kind of goes against essentially what I said in my character design video. But then again, I made that video over 2 years ago, and I'm thinking about making an updated version of that because it's been a while since I've watched it, but I don't know if it was the best video ever. I think it has some flaws that would need ironing out. So let me know if you guys want me to make it a sort of newer, updated kind of breakdown of my process. But the thing with designing characters for me is that it can sort of, rotate on my how I design it. Like for example, if I'm designing a character in D&D, very medieval, I'll usually go out of my way to research medieval stuff and then sort of put a fantasy spin on it, just because it's something I don't have a lot of experience with. But when it comes to stuff like this, like these nasty, gross, fucking supernatural monsters, I have a little bit more freedom in how I can go about designing them, because they're not bound to actual biology or reality, but I still try to think of it logically, right? Like, like I said, for this character, the reason he has the spindly, creepy legs with hands is so, he can reach into people, grab their bones, their skeleton, what have you, and turn them into weapons. And it allows him to, move around and crawl around really fast. But even though there's a logical explanation for it, in reality, I just really like that design scheme. Now that we got that down, I'm gonna go ahead and color this. Again, with the colors, I'm sort of just doing my best to sort of kind of stick with the original design, but changing things up to fit my perspective on the character as well. So yeah. There's no way! Fuck! My pencil ran out of battery right now. Okay, hold on. Fine. No, it's cool. It's cool. In fact, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a bite to eat. When I'm done, I'm gonna finish coloring you, bitch. And there we have him. There's Dath. Dath the skeleton man. As with the other two, this was incredibly fun to design. This one definitely I went a little more outward from the references that were sent to me the most, because this was probably the character out of the three where I was going to be able to do that. And what came out is something that I really like and something that could actually fit within the world of where the humans go. And it would be really interesting to sort of figure out how this guy would move around, how he would fight, how he would live. I think overall he's a really interesting character because he's such a very grotesque looking person, but he's such a passive individual at the same time. He doesn't go out of his way to hurt anybody, really go out of his way to do anything except help people if they really need his help. Otherwise, he just kind of wanders around real passively and just ignores everything that's around him. So, once again, thank you to Johnny Boy Draws for submitting this character. He was a ton of fun to design, and just like the other two, he's mine now. I'm keeping him. I'll put him to good use. You can go ahead and pull him out of your little comic that you're making or whatever. And there we have the first three characters for District Denizens. Like I said before, I originally planned this to have 5 characters, but I just found that along with all the other projects I have going on and, living a life, that doing 5 would, I think, just take too long. So I think I'm going to reduce it down to 3, but hey, if things change and I get more time on my hands, maybe I can bump that number back up. But either way, this was super fun to do. Thank you to everyone who's submitted characters. If you didn't see your character here and you're worried about the series taking a while to go, yeah, it's gonna be a minute, but for all the people that submitted, I have one giant folder filled with all the characters that were submitted to me and the people who submitted them. So for those of you, wondering if they're gonna have their characters made, that it's a pretty high chance. It's a very large folder, so I'm gonna just keep going through it and you know selecting characters to do for each episode. Once again, thank you to everybody who submitted. It was an insane amount of people, way more than I could have ever expected that were interested. Um, I guess you guys just really want to see your characters redesigned. Keep on the lookout for new content. If you're interested in other kind of content that I make, I have a podcast called Spice Cabinet where I invite other artists to hang out and draw, and we just talk about whatever we feel like getting into. Um, a new chapter dub for my comic Where the Humans Go is coming as well. Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate the support, the patience, and all the characters. I think this is going to be a really fun series, even if it's going to be a bit of a slow burn. I am very excited to keep working on it. See you later, guys. Bye bye.